everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to GCC's Georgia Chiro Connection. I'm your host, Dr. Kathy, and today coming to us from nice, sunny, and warm Florida, we've got Dr. Josh Shideler. Hey, Doc, how are you?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate taking the time out of your day to come and share with us. One of the things we like to do is share stories from docs around the country, docs in Georgia, with our local GCC doctors and our students about how we really rely on the principles and the philosophy of chiropractic in our practices. So I know that you have been in practice for quite some time. How long have you been down in Florida?
2 years in Florida, just turned 2 years.
Okay.
Before that, we were in Seattle for close to 10 years.
Now, in Seattle, were you associating? Were you running your own practice?
So we started out going to buy a practice, and long story short, it didn't work out the way we thought it was going to work out. And then we opened one and then opened another, bigger one. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So most of the time we were by ourselves out there.
Okay. So there's a lot of lessons learned along that journey, and there's a lot of relying on the foundation of chiropractic to be successful.
Oh, yeah. And if I say us and refer to we, I practice with my wife. So, yeah, so she's another chiropractor as well. But yes. You got to know why you're doing it. And when you know why you're doing it, you know what to look for. And the patients need to know why you're doing things and what you're looking for and why it's important. So understanding the principle of chiropractic and, it helps educate them. And when they know why they're supposed to be there, they start coming in on their own will.
So starting a new practice in a new city after you've been in practice for a while, a lot of people would say, you're crazy. I'm just going to stay where I am. Even if I'm not happy there, I don't want to start over. But when you do that, there are a lot of lessons that come along. And for the students that are watching right now, what are some of the things that you either were prepared for because you'd already been in practice, or you weren't prepared for because you'd been in practice so long? Like what things really stood out when you opened a new practice in a new city?
So, I mean, obviously not knowing much about the area is a big thing. But it was more exciting than anything. I wasn't really that scared. Like I said, we know what we're good at. We're good at finding subluxation, correcting subluxation, and we're always working on being able to explain why we do that. And not every other chiropractor does that. So when you come in to an area, which, I feel God put us in this area for a reason, I don't have a problem explaining that to people, and people resonate with that, and it naturally just starts to build itself. So
Nice.
did that answer that?
Yeah, it did. And so what are some of the things that you would recommend if someone wanted to start a practice in a city where where they're brand new? What are some of the things that you would recommend that either worked for you or you wish you would have done?
Really, it was extremely simple. I mean, above, down, inside, out. I try to work on myself, knowing the principle, understanding the principle. I do most of that. I attend DE 4 times a year or Dynamic Essential. I really try to be dipped in that philosophy, understanding, why we are what we are and what we do, what we're doing, and why it's important. And that's all I really concentrate on. And it kind of builds one person at a time, but it really sets you apart from most other practices. And I didn't really, being at Life and being kind of in that little chiropractic bubble, you don't really, everybody's kind of in that mindset, or a lot of people are in that mindset. But then when you get out into the real world, not everybody has that mindset. So, and people are looking for what we have. And so being able to explain it, being able to say it, not, you don't have to be in their face about it, but just, tell them the truth. That just naturally has always built our practice for us. And that's what we rely on. So I would tell any student, go to DE or find some place that's philosophically sound, learn our principle, understand our principle. And then, of course, being able to hit the ball, you got to be able to find and correct the subluxation. You got to have something you're comfortable with. God's going to give you the right people in there, but you got to be doing your work too, because you got to get sick people well. So, but yeah, knowing the philosophy and being able to find and correct the subluxation are the two biggest things that I would tell any new graduate coming out of school, that they have to own those two things, and I think the rest start falling into place after that.
So my brain is thinking be, do, have, and clearly you have it in the right order, because so many people are concerned with what do I do, how do I have what I want to have. They forget about the be, and for you just put the be first. You have to be the right person who's willing to do what it takes to have the practice that you want.
Yeah. And, sometimes in the past, I've gotten kind of, you think you should be doing this or doing that. It just never works, at least for me. So I have to have those two things in line. And then the rest kind of, it seems to fall into place. It helps me make the right decisions, rather that be staff, no staff, computer systems, do I take insurance? Do I not take insurance? All the rest seems to fall in place when I'm doing things in that correct order.
I love it. So now, in the course of all these years in Seattle, down in Florida, I'm sure that you've had some stories of some patients that have just either inspired you or that you've been able to share with your community or with new patients that really excite people about all the great things that happen under chiropractic care. So what's a story that you could share with us?
So, of course, I've had a lot of different things happen, as do, all chiropractors that find and correct that subluxation. But I really enjoy people that put in the time and the effort long-term, and then they see a result. So I had a lady, she was actually, I worked with her for a short time, and then she became a patient and kind of a friend as well. But I saw her for about 6 years in Seattle, and she always had high chronic cholesterol. So she was a good athlete. She was older, but she was very athletic. She had like an impeccable diet. She did everything right, but she could never get off this cholesterol medication. And I was like, well, just, come in, we'll see if your body, I've always been rather optimistic. But you kind of lose track of it over 6 years. But then she came in one day and she was like, I just went to the doctor and they all freaked out because my cholesterol was actually clinically low because she was still taking the medication. So they had to adjust it. I think she eventually got completely off of it. But I always like that, to see when people put in that time and effort over time, and you can really see our principle at work, and you can see their bodies change, which translates into their life changing, and maybe them going in a direction maybe they wouldn't have been able to go in if, chiropractic wasn't a part of their life.
I love the long-term stories, because I think what happens is our long-term patients, they just get so used to living this way and feeling good that oftentimes it doesn't hit them the impact that chiropractic has had on their life until they get around other people. They get around their high school reunion, they go back home for the holidays, they get around people that they haven't seen in a while that are the same age and with the same level of health. And that's when they see the effects of their years of care.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Definitely.
Nice. Good. So tell us some of the things that you're doing to help grow your practice, and some of the things that maybe some of the other doctors could benefit from by listening to what you guys have been working on.
So, like I said, I go to DE 4 times a year. I'm always sharpening the sword or my skills. I always want to be able, they're going to throw you, someone's going to throw you an odd pitch sometime, and you got to be able to hit that. So people come in with interesting presentations. So I'm always practicing and going to different, seminars, sometimes the same seminar over and over again, but different adjusting seminars. And of course, I will say this, that I took a little bit of a hiatus from DE from when I graduated until about 2018. And my adjusting went up, skill level went up tremendously once I was dipped back into that philosophy. So again, I'm going to take it back to the philosophy. I'm always working on that. I feel like I used to be a technique guy, but now I'm, if you don't understand that principle, like you do not know how to apply that technique. Yeah, I would just tell everybody, know your philosophy, know the principle, always be working that direction. The other stuff is very important too, don't get me wrong, but to apply it the correct way, you got to understand why you're doing it and what you're doing. So
love it. It's just a tool otherwise if we don't have the why.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, Doc.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on.
Absolutely. Listen, I want to remind everybody that this weekend coming up in Savannah, we have our continuing ed event. It is November 3rd and 4th in Savannah. You can get all of your continuing ed credits in one weekend. If that weekend doesn't work for you, join us December 8th, 9th, and 10th. We're back in the Marietta area. That is our annual convention. It's also our Christmas holiday party and our casino night party. So that's a big one. You're going to want to join us for that. Even if you don't need the CE, you can come on down and celebrate. Join us for that. Just let us know. Check out our website at georgiachiropractic.org for all the details. And with that, I want to say thank you, Dr. Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody that's joining us, whether you're live or watching the replay. And we look forward to seeing you next week right here for GCC's Georgia Chiro Connection. Bye.